Welcome, guys, to How the Frack We Got Here, a show that takes the news and events of the week and try to make sense out of it all. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan, and on this show, we simply are all about the facts. There are plenty of news stations out there that simply want to do anything short but inform you. Here at How the Frack We Got Here, that's all we believe in. We go up to the left, we go up to the right, we go up to the middle of independence. We go after all sides because there's more than one side of a story to everything, and you need to know it all in order to actually formulate your own opinion. And that's what we try to do here at How the Frack We Got Here. Thanks for listening, and hold on, it's gonna be fun.
That is a Grammy that every artist wants, almost as much as Trump wants Greenland. Which makes sense. I mean, because Epstein's island is gone, he needs a new one to hang out with Bill Clinton.
It's incredibly difficult being a host.
I know he's going to go out with a bang.
He is.
Trevor Noah targeting Donald Trump during his sixth and final time as Grammys host, and now the president is threatening legal action. The Daily Show alum slamming the commander-in-chief a total of 4 times throughout the 3.5-hour broadcast.
If we edited any of the show, the president would sue CBS for $16 billion.
I have the biggest ass. I have it. Everybody's saying it. Wop, wop, wop. Look at it. Look at it, baby.
The show spotlighting more stars sharing their sharp criticism of the federal government's militarized crackdown on undocumented immigrants.
No one is illegal on stolen land.
Before I say thanks to God, I'm going to say eyes out.
I think this goes beyond just, Bad Bunny. This goes for our culture. This goes for all the immigrants,
Now more than ever, it's important to celebrate our language and our culture.
I've loved my time, but I believe in term limits. Yeah, I wanted to set an example for anyone who might be watching the show. Just leave when your time is up. Whatever.
Turns out Trump was tuned in, and his review, well, it's not exactly glowing.
Oh, I told you it's my last year. What are you going to do about it?
The president taking to Truth Social to rip CBS and the Grammys in a 900-word takedown, where he calls the awards virtually unwatchable and Trevor a total loser.
Who are you? Who are you that you don't want to watch the Grammys? So what, you just don't like music? Is that what it is?
No, it appears this joke about the late Jeffrey Epstein's alleged child sex sanctuary was the last straw.
That is a Grammy that every artist wants, almost as much as Trump wants Greenland. Which makes sense. I mean, because Epstein's island is gone, he needs a new one to hang out with Bill Clinton.
Neither Clinton nor Trump have been charged with any crimes related to Epstein, Trump calling the jab false and defamatory. He adds, quote, "It looks like I'll be sending my lawyers to sue this poor, pathetic, talentless dope of an MC. Get ready, Noah. I'm going to have some fun with you."
Without Trevor's elegance in the way he does it, we'd find it really difficult.
He's been instrumental in the direction of the show, the evolution of what we've done, the mood, the tone he sets. I feel like this is a show about unity and joy and celebrating music and coming together. It's a great time to be in music.
And that just lets you know that Diaper Don can't take a joke, to be a so-called tough guy. But, good luck trying to sue a guy because you're suing a comedian because, well, he told the truth about you. And at the same time, you took a big ass shit in the Oval Office. That being said, today's date, February 4th, 2026, and this is How the Frack We Got Here. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan on the Frack We Got Here. We do take the events of the week to try to make sense of it all. Before we get started, guys, we do pride ourselves on being a news podcast. What does that mean? We only cite from sources with award-winning journalism. We do not do sensational news like Fox News, The Blaze, The Daily Beast, now CBS News, wherever extreme left, extreme right you get your views from. We simply don't do that. At the same time, guys, we do try to maintain our professionalism. We do try to watch our language, but let's be honest, words do fly on the show. At the same time, there may be things that might be shown that might be too intense for younger viewers, so viewer discretion is advised. Aside from that, welcome. Yes, the Grammys were all the rage, and yes, the ice out comments were flying because, let's be honest, a lot of immigrants won awards, or descendants of immigrants won awards, I should say. At the same time, Trevor Noah is doing what he does best. He lets them fly, and rightfully so, because what else can a comedian do when a president such as Taco gives you enough ammunition that as a comedian, it's Christmas in July. That being said, we are going to go and get into it, guys. The darker part of the story, the darker part of the podcast. Jesus, 3 million pages of Epstein files were released. And if you thought Law and Order and Law and Order SVU did some dark shit, observe.
Department of Justice releasing their final batch of files connected to the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
Today, we are producing more than 3 million pages, including more than 2,000 videos and 180,000 images.
New emails from 2012 and 2013 show billionaire Elon Musk and Epstein coordinating a possible visit to the financier's infamous island. Musk asks when the wildest party will be. In another exchange, Epstein telling Musk there is always space for you and says he will send a heli for him. It's not clear if Musk ever visited the island. Musk's name has popped up in prior releases, including from the House Oversight Committee's release from the Epstein estate. He did not respond to NBC News' request for comment, but previously called Epstein a cretin and said he never advised him. Musk told Vanity Fair that Epstein tried repeatedly to get him to his island, but he declined. Emails also show Trump Cabinet Secretary Howard Lutnick coordinating a visit in the Caribbean in 2012. It's not clear if the meetings happened. Lutnick claimed to have cut ties with Epstein in 2005.
My wife and I decided that I will never be in the room with that disgusting person ever again.
But the emails show drink and lunch meetings being arranged between the two well into 2012. A Commerce Secretary spokesperson said in a statement, quote, Secretary Lutnick has had limited interactions with Mr. Epstein in the presence of his wife and has never been accused of wrongdoing. The drop also includes a spreadsheet summary of complaints made to the FBI's National Threat Operations Center. It contained allegations against former President Donald Trump and former President Bill Clinton. There's no indication the FBI turned up evidence supporting the tips. And a note on the file read some of these individuals are reporting secondhand information and determined some of the tips were not credible. The DOJ later temporarily pulled the file without explanation. Both former presidents have denied any wrongdoing.
Ryan joins us now live. And Ryan, how are Epstein survivors reacting to this new release?
Well, Tom, a group of survivors are accusing the DOJ of not doing enough to protect their personal information while withholding information about Epstein's alleged crimes. They want to hear more from Attorney General Pam Bondi when she appears before Congress in February.
All right, so let's just call it what it is, ladies and gentlemen. It's a cover-up. Now, of course, if you go out there, there's 3 million pages that are available to everybody. I will just go ahead and save you some time. It is very graphic. A lot of the complaints that were funneled by the FBI are very, very detailed, very graphic. So read them at your peril. I will just say calendar girls will have a whole different meaning for me now. It's just, wow, the how depraved some people can really be when they own an island. But that's neither here nor there. That being said, guys, again, there's a lot there. Of course, with Cash Patel and the FBI investigating and Pam Bondi and the DOJ investigating, let's be honest, their main job is to protect the Diaper Don. What I mean by Diaper Don, I mean Diaper Donald shits in the White House and apparently shits on Fox News. And to the point to where, and I wish I had that video, because when you see all those, when you see the assistants rush out all the reporters and stuff out of the White House, and you'll probably know the scene. The Fox News correspondents are right behind him, and the woman just does this, and you see one guy just make a face like, and that's exactly what he did. At the same time, they are rushing reporters out of there because I'm surprised somebody didn't sit there and go, "Did somebody shit? Mr. President, did you shit on yourself?" And that's not the first time. Did on Fox News too. Because let's be honest, he's wearing a diaper, he's getting daily IVs to the hand. The man literally, his white privilege is expiring, and it seems in this case so will he. He's probably not meant long for this world. But it's amazing to me that the more these Epstein files comes out, the more they always try to sit there and say, "Oh, well, Howard Lutnick, he wanted to go to the island. Bill Gates wanted to go to the island. Clinton wanted to go to the island." Okay, get them all. See, that's the thing I don't understand. Why do you feel this need? Like, well, it wasn't just Trump; it was everybody on this list. Cool, get them all. But what if it's what if it was Bill Clinton? Get him. I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, or Independent, or Green Party, or whatever party you may be of. If you were on that island with the rest of those sick and twisted individuals doing unspeakable actions, if you were doing unspeakable actions on this island with Jeffrey Epstein, I don't care if you're red, blue, black, brown, purple, or polka dot, jail's not good enough for you. You should face your crimes. But I'll be honest, if I'm being personal, jail's not enough. At the same time, I could care less about the Clintons. Because here's the thing. It is amazing to me that what the Oversight Committee is trying to do, which is basically getting the Clintons to testify. Why? We can't even get Trump to testify. But apparently, y'all have a hard-on for the Clintons, and I'm talking Republicans. Again, because, the first time it was, let me just play the video.
Just days before Congress was set to potentially hold them in contempt, former President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton have agreed to give depositions as part of a House committee's investigation into sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. For months, the Clintons held their ground against Republican Chairman James Comer's subpoenas, dismissing his demands for in-person depositions as legally toothless and invalid, and slamming the investigation as a political hit job.
This appeared to be a high-stakes game of chicken where both sides were standing off to see who would flinch first. The answer seems to be the Clintons.
But after some Democrats said they would join Republicans in recommending contempt charges, the Clintons have now agreed to testify.
If the committee had gone forward and filed formal charges and the DOJ had prosecuted, the Clintons were looking at up to a year in prison and a $100,000 fine each.
Neither Bill nor Hillary Clinton has been accused of wrongdoing, and they both deny having any knowledge of Epstein's crimes. They proposed alternatives to in-person testimony, recently offering to sit for a 4-hour transcribed interview. But Chairman Comer balking at that offer, claiming the former president would try to run out the clock by giving unnecessarily long answers. Comer saying the former president has an established record of being a loquacious individual. And overnight, Comer appearing skeptical that the depositions will actually happen, saying the Clintons' counsel has said they agree to terms, but those terms lack clarity yet again, and they have provided no dates for their depositions. If the depositions do happen, it would be the first time a former president had testified before Congress since Gerald Ford.
The House committee says it needs more clarity on what the Clintons are offering. Any depositions will almost certainly take place behind closed doors.
So let's think about this for a second. Why is it if you couldn't get Donald to sit down and do depositions for him being the Epstein files, but you want to go after a former president who may or may not be Bubba, who Don may or may not have serviced Bubba, but you want to go after the Clintons? Why? Well, we just want your testimony on documents that you said the DOJ were still currently investigating and honestly redacting Trump's name from. What is the whole point of the testimony? Where did you go? Did you meet Jeffrey Epstein? Yes. Did you go to his island? Yes. Did you do anything? No. Or if you did, so what? Because let me tell you what this is, folks. The Oversight Committee, the FBI, and the DOJ are basically playing smoke screens, which a lot of people have already come that, if you're not a part of the MAGA cult or just conservatives or just slow to get to the point. I'm not trying to call you what you are, but y'all need a little time to get where everybody else is. But the point I'm getting at is these are all distractions. This is the more this Epstein stuff comes out, the more we see Trump's into it. And I'm going to be honest, after the DOJ has literally defied a court order, not once, not twice, not thrice, and they sat there and said, well, we need more time to filter out the multiple pages of the Epstein files because we want to protect the victims. While the victims are sitting there looking at y'all like, you're not doing your job. We want actual justice, and you guys are not doing your job. And therefore, what the frack? But again, this is Pam Bondi, who, by the way, hasn't spoke a lot since, her going after Don Lemon, but we'll get to that momentarily. But now Todd Blanche, who is the deputy, or I should say the assistant attorney general, but because when a white woman's tired of defending lies, they send in a white man because he's used to it. But it's amazing that they're still holding the ball. And again, the Epstein files could be it honestly could be the nail that brings down the administration. And the thing about it is just that when you literally and figuratively see, the more they dig into this, whose name keeps appearing up more times than we can count? Diaper Don. That's the thing about it. It's Diaper Don. I know I call him Taco all the time, but technically he's Diaper Don. And again, how many more times can we sit there and not sit there and go, oh, there's a lot of smoke here, which a lot of people have sat there and said, just like with the Fulton County cover up. He went in there to basically get evidence. And this is all that it is, ladies and gentlemen. They know, I'm saying from a Republican and administration standpoint, they know the clock is running out on them. The Democrats, if they do their job within the next 9 months, if the Democrats do their job properly and hammer the Republicans and come out with plans and move forward, hopefully with progressive women leading the Democratic being a part of the leadership of the Democratic caucus, I hope. One can hope. If it's done properly, they could have overwhelming majority in the House and the Senate. And let's also be honest, if they have overwhelming majority in the House and the Senate, trust and believe the first thing that's going to come up is impeachment. And again, for impeachment, it requires 2/3. If the Democrats do have 2/3 of Congress, Trump is out. And then from there, it could be his administration. You could impeach the Attorney General. The Attorney General can be removed. His Secretary of Defense, of Commerce, of Interior, of State, all can be removed. But here's the thing. If they do remove them, there's prosecution. Because trust and believe, we want people to face something for their actions in this corrupt ass administration. That's the reason why they're going after the evidence now. The Epstein files, evidence. Fulton County voting records from 2020, evidence. Why are they going after all this? So you can't use it against them when you try to pursue charges. That's all. Right now, what they're doing is hedging their bets. In the event that they lose the House and the Senate in the midterms, they're hedging their bets. Say we might not have a job in the administration, but we're not going to be in jail or worse. And that's exactly what they're doing. Even though Diaper Don has now said, we want to nationalize elections. And all I can sit there and say is, here's another reason why you should read the Constitution.
This morning, President Trump is calling on Republicans to nationalize elections as he continues to push baseless claims of voter fraud.
The Republicans should say, we want to take over. We should take over the voting in at least 15 places. The Republicans ought to nationalize the voting.
Under the Constitution, the power to run elections is reserved for the states, not the federal government.
Once again, the president's talking no differently than a dictator who wants elections in America to be as legitimate as elections in countries like Venezuela.
The president claims the 2020 election was stolen from him, repeating without evidence that there was widespread voter fraud in Fulton County, Georgia. The FBI last week seized hundreds of boxes of records tied to the election from a Fulton County elections office. Critics have questioned why the director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, was there for the raid. Gabbard now telling Congress she was in Georgia at the president's request. Democrats argue she has no legal authority to participate in federal investigations. Gabbard is also addressing reports about a call between President Trump and the FBI agents who took part in the raid, saying she facilitated a brief phone call for the president to thank the agents personally for their work. He did not ask any questions, nor did he or I issue any directives.
And Gabbard claims election security falls under her authority. Officials in Fulton County now plan to sue over the FBI raid.
So, a few problems with that. Tulsi Gabbard, who's the director of national intelligence, election security is not under your expertise. That would be the FBI. At the same time, it's just like I freaking said before. Evidence. Why is he so concerned? And we talked about this in the previous podcast. Why is he so obsessed with Fulton County? Because he had an election. And I say had in the past tense, an election interference case that the former Fulton County DA, Fannie Willis, was going to bring to case. And had that case went through, I am more than sure she would have nailed his ass to the wall. And because it's a felony, his ass more likely would have been in prison before he actually ran his campaign. But like we explained, Trump complained, "I'm running a campaign. I can't be in trial. I can't do this." They kept pushing it back, rolling, waiting for the clock to run out, hoping he gets the nomination to be president, which he did. And once he did, it's almost like his cases all went poof. Because, the DOJ's opinion is we don't want to indict a sitting president, which is still the stupidest opinion I've ever seen. Because you're basically saying the president is above the law when they keep on saying no one is. I'm like, yet the president is allowed to act like a terrorist. Not to steal a line from X-Men 97, but it's true. But it goes back to what I said about, again, with the depositions for the Epstein files. Trump couldn't be bothered with to sit in depositions. He said, "Oh, well, can I send written statements? I don't want to sit on camera. I don't want to sit on video. I don't want to have mine automatically dictated." He gave every excuse. And I always sit there and say the best. Hillary Clinton sat in one congressional hearing for 15 hours. Hillary Clinton, former Secretary of State, former Senator, former First Lady, sat in a congressional hearing for 15 hours. Unbothered. Trump can't even sit during a deposition for 5 minutes. Well, I can only assume because his diaper's full. But going back to nationalized voting, that's straight out of Project 2025. The votes, whenever it comes to states run voting. Okay, it's always been by the states because the Electoral College. The Electoral College runs off the votes from the state. The state counts the votes, and that state's votes or its electoral votes goes to the majority of whatever the votes were for. That's how the system works. It's amazing how the party of so-called small government wants to basically use government to force everybody to live the way they want to live. And again, Taco, Diaper Don, is nervous. He wants to ensure that he remains president. He wants to ensure his power still goes unchecked. He wants to ensure that he can act without consequence because you have a party behind him that would rather enjoy the spoils and leave an old senile man in a very strong seat of power because they get everything they want. And that's how it's been with the conservatives. Conservatives know that Donald Trump is corrupt, is he senile, is he's over the hill, but they get everything they want through him. That's why during the election, what they want, we wanted Donald Trump's we wanted his blessing, we wanted his endorsement. A lot of conservatives want off that endorsement. And now you don't go against the mob because the mob will turn on you. And at the same time, Republicans will never turn over their own. But no, when it comes to nationalizing states' votes, no, it can't happen. Because this little thing called the Constitution basically says the federal government does not do that. That power goes to the states. Otherwise, the Electoral College is basically worthless. Just saying. But moving on to the next story, guys, we do actually have, with Greg Bovino, the former border control commander, who is now back in California, probably on a Fox News segment somewhere, he's gone. And now we have pretty much pain in the ass, at least 3 boards stuck in his ass that he refused to get removed. The borders are Tom Hoonan, who says, "I am trying to do a gentler side. We actually do not want to occupy Minnesota," or at least that's how this thing started.
I'm going to fix it. Strong words from border czar Tom Homan speaking today from Minneapolis. Homan making it very clear he's there to carry out the president's immigration crackdown, but says he's had productive meetings with state and local leaders in Minnesota and agrees that the federal operation up until this point hasn't been perfect. Take a listen.
Nothing's ever perfect, and anything can be improved on. And what we've been working on is making this operation safer, more efficient, by the book. And President Trump and I, along with others in the administration, have recognized that certain improvements could and should be made.
Well, this comes as we're seeing new video appearing to show Alex Preddy there in Minneapolis.
So I'm going to stop it right there because that video that they're trying to use was actually AI. Well, I see the video of Alex Preddy actually damaging ICE vehicles. He didn't. That was fake. But yes, Tom Hoonan, border czar decided, Tom Homan, I always call him Hooman, although he's more of an idiot, saying that we want to reduce our carbon footprint. We want to reduce our our presence in Minneapolis. And yet, this happened hours after his statement.
This morning, roughly 1,500 active duty Army paratroopers on alert, waiting for a possible deployment to Minneapolis. Defense officials telling ABC News President Trump hasn't made a final decision on whether to deploy the soldiers, but they're taking, quote, prudent steps to prepare. The White House not yet commenting. It comes just days after the president threatened to invoke the Insurrection Act for the first time in more than 30 years, which would allow him to use the U.S. military domestically. ICE out now! It comes after more than 10 days of protests and rising tensions in the city, sparked by an ICE agent's killing of 37-year-old mother of three, Renee Good.
Say her name.
The federal government insisting the agent's shooting of Good was justified and no further review of his actions is warranted.
We are not investigating, and if there comes a time when we need to, we will, but it's not now.
Sources tell ABC News that the federal investigation is focused on Good, her conduct, and possible ties to activist groups. And now the DOJ also launching an investigation into Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey. Sources telling ABC News they're under investigation for allegedly obstructing law enforcement efforts.
There are other countries where you get put away for the things that you say. There are other countries where you get investigated for saying something that runs counter to what the federal government states. But in this country, it's not that way.
The unrest impacting the city's businesses.
Everybody's scared. I mean, not just, the people that are scared of immigration status, but everybody's scared.
And this morning, 4 attorneys tell ABC News ICE rejected their request to meet with their clients in Minneapolis. Claims DHS denies, saying detainees are given due process and access.
So all I can sit there and say is, America, come get your Negro lessons. Because it never ceases to amaze me. Oh, we want to reduce our presence in Minneapolis. Why do you have 1,500 paratroopers on standby? You want to occupy the city. That's all it is. You want to occupy the city, and you have no problem saying it now because it's true. But what's so crazy about it is the fact that you're treating it like it's normal. And a lot of people are going to sit there and say, well, black people, you should join us. Nah, we're good. I'm going to tell you why we're good. It's better we're not there. Not because, we did our part in the previous election. We, 92% of black women, 85% of black men voted for Harris. We did our part. But when it comes to protests, if you guys haven't noticed, if black people are there at the protest, racist law enforcement, as well as racist groups, use that as an excuse to bring weapons. And I'm not talking guns, although guns are there as well, but they bring mace, they bring deterrence, they bring chaos and trying to antagonize us. But you notice with these protests, not that many black folks. At the same time, you are now seeing what we've been seeing this entire time. And I always find it interesting where folks will get they get this aha moments like, this is what black people go through? Yeah. Been going through it all our lives. And you are now getting your Negro lesson. So it is amazing to me now where folks are like, well, black people, you should join us. You should have joined us. You should have joined us at the last election. We did our part, and now we're doing our part again. Because you guys, unfortunately, and I hate to say this, because when a black person's life is lost, it's almost accepted as part of a bigger running plan. When a white person is killed, it seems to wake y'all up. So we removed ourselves from the equation. And you are now seeing what we're seeing. So America, come get your Negro lessons. That also being said, former about to be Director of Homeland Security, ICE Barbie Kristi Noem, says, you know what, guys, we're going to make sure that our ICE agents wear body cams. That's got to be a good idea, right?
Now to the latest fallout over those 2 deadly shootings in Minneapolis at the hands of federal agents. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem saying yesterday that all federal officers in the city will now be issued body cameras. Noem said the move was in the interest of transparency. federal immigration officers have come under scrutiny in recent weeks during an enforcement surge and the fatal shootings of 2 U.S.
So yes, wearing body cams. You want DHS officers to wear body cameras. Here's the part where I'm just a little slightly confused. Everybody's got smartphones now. Whenever DHS or ICE is out, cameras are up. Your own officers have cameras recording. Why do you need body cams? That seems too little, too late, not going to have an impact on whatsoever. Because when it comes to ICE, they've basically been given the ability to racially profile by the Supreme Court. The DOJ pretty much gives them blanket immunity. And at the same time, we're not expecting prosecution of their actions of these definitely ill-trained, not qualified individuals that are now serving a government office. At this point, they are not. It makes no point to put a body cam on. Putting a body cam on them is like putting a roof rack on a deer. What's the point? And at the same time, nothing will change because, again, when it comes to ICE agents, we're still waiting for those ICE agents that shot Alex Peretti. We're still waiting for the ICE agent that shot Nicole Good. We're still waiting for the ICE agent that shot Keith Porter. I can keep going down the list. But those agents that have taken lives are still out there, not in jail, not indicted, not facing a court case. Please explain to me how a body camera on a DHS agent is going to make any difference. Because I'm going to tell you right now, you gave it to law enforcement. And law enforcement has shown you that, yeah, body cameras are not as effective as you think, especially when the fact that law enforcement officers can turn their body cameras on and off without consequence. Just throwing that out there. But speaking of throwing things out there, going back to Diaper Dawn, this walking shit-stained conflict of interest has decided he wants to sue the IRS. Yes, I cannot make this up. But I'll play the video first before I explain why you should be a little bit concerned about that.
President Trump's also suing the IRS and the Treasury Department over a leaked tax return during his first term in office. But he didn't answer Karen Travers from ABC when she tried to ask him about that. I mean, this is unprecedented.
Yeah, so the president launched a $10 billion lawsuit against the IRS and the Treasury Department over the fact that his taxes were leaked. You remember 2019, 2020, his taxes were leaked. Several other prominent wealthy billionaires had their taxes released. The person was eventually caught, actually pled guilty, served 5 years. 5 years in prison was the sentence. And now the president is saying that he wants to sue for damages. You could see another citizen suing. There have been others who sued earlier. But this is an extraordinary set of circumstances because the IRS and the Treasury Department, of course, are both part of his administration. The Treasury Secretary is Scott Bessent. As you probably know, the acting IRS commissioner is Scott Bessent. So he's effectively suing a member of his cabinet. And usually it would be the Justice Department. I mean, that's the way the system works. The Justice Department defends the federal government against such lawsuits. So what, is Pam Bondi going to be
against
President Trump? I mean, this is just to say it's extraordinary. It doesn't actually fit what's happening here. It's beyond that. And we'll see where this goes. But it's interesting that he set the number at $10 billion. And we've heard nothing. We've heard nothing from the Attorney General.
Yeah, that's what he wants to do. Diaper Don is suing the IRS and the Treasury, U.S. Treasury, for $10 billion because of one leaked tax return, to which the individual that did leak the tax return, who was a hero in our opinion, did go to jail, got 5 years in prison for leaking his tax return. But yet, Trump wants to sue. And here's the caveat to a lot of it. Just like the journalist said, the IRS and the Treasury are both fall under the executive branch, which technically means they are a part of Trump's administration. So to sum this up with one whole sentence, Trump is suing himself in order to get a settlement from himself. Because again, he is suing his own administration. And like he said, Scott Dissident is currently running the U.S. Treasury. Pam Bondi is the current AG. They are loyalists. And what have I said at the beginning of this? What have I said at the beginning of all this? If Trump got back in office again, he has learned from his mistakes. He is not going to employ the best, smartest people. He is going to turn around and employ those that are going to fall on the sword for him. And what's scary about all this is he actually just might, unless some act of God happens, he actually might get that settlement. And keep in mind, Trump's net worth has increased 5 times over. His net worth has increased 5 times over since he's been in office. This man has grifted. This man has sold the dream, grifted, monorailed his way to having a nice little sum. And yet, he is a walking conflict of interest. He's a walking shit stain, literally, because he has a diaper on. But he is a walking conflict of interest. And it's alarming that he's about to try to basically con $10 billion out of the U.S. Treasury. And there are those that actually may help him do it. That's the scary part. But we'll follow that story as it goes along. But I'm just saying, wow, you got to have some cojones to sue yourself only to get money to treat the U.S. Treasury like your personal piggy bank. And this is why I keep saying the entire time, how did a man get elected as president who bankrupted a casino? You bankrupted a casino. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've ever been to a casino, those are the places that literally print money. But at the same time, Trump bankrupted one. I wonder how. But before we switching over to something else, guys, I want to get on the 2FA group for a second. I'm talking the homosexuals. I'm talking about the don't tread on me flag people. I'm talking about the right to bear arms shall not be infringed. You people. It is amazing how quiet you guys are, because Alex Peretti was a legal carrying firearms person, and he did everything right, still got executed by ICE. You guys are silent. The NRA, I don't ever count the NRA. The NRA bends wherever the wind blows. But it's amazing to me that whenever one of y'all come out, y'all immediately don't do anything but bend over, which tells me that you 2FA people ain't shit. Exhibit A.
Now causing division among President Trump, GOP lawmakers, and gun rights groups. Second Amendment advocates are pushing back on the president's comments, appearing to blame Preddy for having a gun on him when federal agents shot and killed him. Preddy was a legal gun owner, but according to the video, he didn't draw a weapon. Still, the president criticizes him for bringing it in the first place.
With that being said, you can't have guns. You can't walk in with guns. You just can't. And you can't, listen, you can't walk in with guns. You can't do that. But it's a very unfortunate incident. I don't like that he had a gun. I don't like that he had 2 fully loaded magazines. That's a lot of bad stuff.
Join me now, Brian Strasser, the chairman of the Minnesota Gun Owners Club. Brian, good to have you. First of all, let me just get your reaction to President Trump's comments.
Sure. The president, I would say the president has been the most pro-Second Amendment president we've seen in recent decades, but his comments here are pretty disappointing and I think confusing to gun owners. Mr. Preddy, as you noted, was lawfully carrying that firearm and can carry a firearm at a protest like this.
Right. So, okay. So let's get to the president and possibly what he's thinking about the Second Amendment in a minute. But now that we all know, and we knew this not even long after he was killed, that Preddy was as a lawful gun owner. He had the permit, the right to carry. Could Alex Preddy have done anything differently, Brian, in that moment when things got heated that could have saved his life? For example, announce to the agents, I am legally carrying right now.
I think given the short time span that this incident occurred in, I'm not sure that Mr. Preddy could have done anything different other than perhaps not engaging with law enforcement in the way that he did in the moment, and stood by and just let that incident play out. I'm not sure there's anything else he could have done as a lawful gun owner in that 20 to 25 seconds.
Got it. All right. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said that Monday, any gun owner knows that when you're carrying a weapon and are confronted by law enforcement, you are raising the assumption of risk and the risk of force being used against you. Do you agree with that?
I don't agree with her comment on that. I think we live in a country that has a constitution where you have a constitutional right to keep and bear arms. There are hundreds of thousands of folks just here in Minnesota that are permitted to carry a firearm, many of whom have law enforcement actions that have not resulted in shootings like this. So I would not agree at all with her commentary there.
Got it. Leadership has now been switched up, as you know, in Minneapolis.
Okay, so let's stop right there for 1 second because I want to point something out. I want to point something out because a lot of people know the Second Amendment because your 2FA people, your amosexuals, they all do the same thing. They will cite this like it's the freaking Bible. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Cool. Where the frack were y'all when ICE wins? Where the frack were y'all when ICE showed up? A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. You had your freaking shining moment when DHS and ICE agents showed up. You had your moment, boys. This was the moment that you were playing Call of Duty for so long. You sat there and watched your Rambo and your Chuck Norris movies and watched the Expendables until the DVD ran out. You waited for this moment to where you could be all you can be without having to enlist and actually do the real shit. And what did you guys do? You got quiet. You didn't show up. You didn't go. You weren't out there. You weren't out there protesting. You weren't out there when a concealed carry, lawfully carrying citizen was disarmed. But instead, you got guys like him that will turn around and stare and say, well, as a responsible gun owner, maybe he should have just stayed out of it. He was a nurse doing his job, looking into the care of others who may or may not have been severely hurt. He was looking into a person that was basically steamrolled by ICE and was checking on her. It should have been the ICE agents that actually had the forthright to sit there and go, oh, he's checking on her. He's a nurse. As he sat there and said, I'm a nurse. Let me check on them. Instead, they decided to go after him. And I love the fact of, well, maybe you should just announce to law enforcement that you have a firearm. Okay. Announce it to law enforcement. Law enforcement, I know I talk about law enforcement on this podcast all the time. Law enforcement in itself is already shaky as hell. But these ICE agents who, as one journalist has already shown, very easy to be hired by ICE. Qualifications are so low that you could have skipped the sixth grade. You could have skipped the sixth grade till No Child Left Behind, and you would have got a job at ICE. They basically take anybody because they lie about the bonuses and the healthcare coverage, which a lot of people are finding out right now that work for ICE. So I don't feel bad for you. But with all that being said, the 2FA people, you guys annoy me to death. Because the moment you are always, because I'll say it right now, every school shooting, when someone brought up gun legislation, you guys were right there. You guys are right there. Criminals don't follow laws. Anybody can get a gun. Anybody can do this. Why do we need to have a registry? Why does the government need to know how many guns I got? Y'all couldn't scream from the rooftops loud enough. And now, when you literally and figuratively have your moment in the freaking sun, crickets, until you're brought up. And then when you're brought up, it's like, oh, well, maybe that person should have stayed out of it. This is why, and I will say this very clearly on this day, February the 4th, you 2FA people that are so gung-ho about your gun rights are fucking cowards. You're cowards. You're cowards. You can no longer talk about the fact that I keep arms to defend myself against a tyrannical government, and a tyrannical government was right at your door, and you chickened out. You chickened out. So we don't want to hear anymore about protecting your guns, because at this point, you'd rather protect your own ass. Miss me with the Second Amendment shit if you're not actually out there using it to defend a free state from a tyrannical government, like the doggone amendment says. But yeah, you 2FA people, y'all are full of shit. But going back to Fulton County, and I told you guys this earlier, that a certain person who, based on the screenshot, let me pull this up, looks like she should be on an episode of Homeland. That is Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, who, again, speaking on the phone with presumably Trump, because again, they were down there to collect evidence. It wasn't about trying to prevent voter fraud. It was about, hey, I'm sending you down here. Make sure all the 2020 election records have been accounted for, and then we're out. That is all that is, with the creepiest way of looking in while on a cell phone. And I'm just being honest, Tulsi Gabbard. She's a plant. Tulsi Gabbard is supposed to be the Director of National Intelligence. She's supposed to let us know when shit's about to hit the fan. And what is she doing? A loyalist job. She is making sure that above all else, she's trying to earn her keep. I don't want Trump to come after me like he went to everybody else. So I'm going to do whatever he tells me to do. And this is what I said about the Trump 2.0 regime. It's not about how smart you are. It's about how much ass you will kiss. And when it's time to fall on the sword, will you fall on the sword for the diaper baby? Just saying. But we do actually have a little bit of good news, guys, because I keep on saying whenever it comes to the red wall and whenever it comes to midterms, I know I've said this multiple times that I used to say that the wall of red, I'm just gonna be honest, Texas, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, Tennessee, Kentucky. So that's the wall. I call it the red wall because it's almost a guarantee that conservatives usually get elected in those states, because people don't understand that voting conservative means you're just shooting yourself in the foot and reloading again, because those states that I mentioned are doing so low in education, agriculture, commerce, jobs, income. I can keep going down the list. The only thing that they actually are high in some areas, businesses more than likely to go there because of tax write-offs and kickbacks. But that being said, we are starting to see some cracks in these heavily fortified Republican strongholds. We did talk about the special elections that happened last year. And in Texas, there actually was special elections to where some counties actually went blue. And I couldn't believe it, but actually it did happen.
Right now, we're going to turn to Texas, where a major upset in a state Senate race is rattling Republicans nationwide and driving Democratic optimism ahead of this year's midterms. Democrat Taylor Remen won a state special election Saturday, beating Republican Leah Wamensgans by 15 points, flipping a district President Trump won by 17 points in 2024. Remen telling reporters after that this race wasn't about party.
This isn't red versus blue. This is right versus wrong. This is about public school funding. This is about helping working folks. This is about lowering costs. This is about everyday working folks. So that's what I think this is about.
Joining me now to break it all down at the big board is
Okay, so that's one. Again, Mr. Taylor Rep, he actually did win in Texas in District 9. Now, there was another one, which give me 1 second here to pull that up, because not only did he win the Senate seat for District 9 in Texas, this individual right here, Christian Menifee, I apologize if I completely screwed this up. He actually won in a special election to which Representative Sylvester Turner, because he died while while in office. They had a special election, and that gentleman that you see right there did win and will serve the rest of his term in 2024. Now, what does that mean? That means that come the midterms, he will have to run again to get another term. But again, this is in Texas, guys. Keep in mind, Texas is usually a Republican stronghold for conservatives. And yet, two people running for office were able to get their seats. Now, I'm not saying that doesn't mean that there's going to be cracks in the red wall. I'm just saying that there's some signs of hope. Now, I'll tell you what the sign of hope really will be. And I'm going to be honest with you. Tennessee, where I live, if that state returns blue, that's how you know something is happening that's great, that's beautiful. But again, I'll hold my breath because Tennessee is progressively backwards. Just saying. But moving right along, guys. Don Lemon, Georgia Ford, others that were at the church during that protest. Of course, for all those that been in the rock, Don Lemon, Georgia Ford, Josh Imilo. I'm forgetting one of the name, but 4 individuals were arrested for, of course, violations of the FACE Act, if you believe lapdog AG Pam Bondi. But they did not stay in holding for that long. They were released later in the day. But Don Lemon, who is an independent journalist, was with CNN for quite some time, speaks on what happened on Jimmy Kimmel Show. And then I'm going to show what Pam Bondi in the picture she's trying to paint. But this is him explaining what happened on the Jimmy Kimmel Show.
How are you? I don't know. You don't know? No, that's a really that's an honest answer. I don't know. I mean, I'm okay, but I'm not going to let them steal my joy. But this is very serious. I mean, these are federal criminal charges. Yeah. And I was walking up to the room, and I pressed the elevator button, and all of a sudden I feel myself being jostled, and people trying to grab me and put me in handcuffs, and I said, "What are you doing here?" And they said, "We came to arrest you." And I said, "Well, who are you?" And then finally they identified themselves, and I said, "If you are who you are, then where's the warrant?" And they didn't have a warrant, so they had to wait for someone from outside, an FBI guy, to come in to show me a warrant on a cell phone. Had to be maybe a dozen people, which is a waste, Jimmy, of resources, because I had told them weeks before, maybe once or twice, that we would, I think my attorney tried to contact them once, maybe twice, that I could just go in and they would have to be the folks who were just working there that day, and they wouldn't have to have all these people following me around.
It's more than just a waste of resources. So they grab you and they take you where?
Well, you're right about more than just a waste of resources. They want that. They want to embarrass you. They want to intimidate you. They want to instill fear. And so that's why they did it that way.
And he's right. They what they wanted, and again, I'm just going to point this out. Whenever it comes to conservatives, they want their boogeyman. They want the person to call. The person to call is always a boogeyman. Because remember, not too long off, how Diaper Don was talking about Somalians. Oh, those Somalians, they're dirty. They're dirty. They're pirates. They take. No one's going to explain how Minnesota's $19 billion. Somalians, they took it, and come to find out that the biggest welfare queen scam in Minnesota was run by a white woman, and how quickly they said nothing. Now, the reason why I bring up Don Lemon is because Don Lemon, Georgia Ford, and others were covering the protests at the church. For all those that remember, there was a church in Minnesota to where the associate pastor was also a field ICE director. There were protesters there that were protesting that, saying, how can you love God but you deport people? Don Lemon, Georgia Ford, and others were there to actually cover the story. And again, it's all on social media. It's all on everywhere you can find it. They were very peaceful. They walked up. They talked to people. They didn't berate them. They didn't barrage them. They didn't attack them. They simply asked questions, doing as what journalists are supposed to do, get the news and be honest by reporting it. But Don Lemon is right. He tried to actually turn himself in. He said, look, we don't got to do all this. I will turn myself in. You will process me. And that'd be the end of it. They wanted a boogeyman. They wanted a show. They wanted to get Don Lemon, and they wanted to stay there and say, we got this person. We got this person that stopped these faithful religious people, because the way Pam Bondi is about to describe it, you would have swore up and down that someone came in the church with a gun. The way she paints this picture. And on Handy, no less, because, Handy is still part of the three-headed douchebag monster known as Fox News. But listen to Pam Bondi And I know it's Fox News. Work with me for a few minutes, but listen to the picture that she paints about the whole entire situation and how she talks about it's protecting religious freedoms.
State U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi. Okay, let's talk about these two people. The 16 people last week. You were on the ground. You were in Minnesota. Tell us what you're seeing and what's coming.
Yeah, Sean, I've been in Minnesota 4 days total, working on obtaining this indictment. We arrested 2 more, and I made it very clear, if you protested, if you rioted in that church, we are going to find you and we're going to arrest you. Don Lemon and 8 others have now been charged in a single indictment because you cannot attack, and that's what it was. It was an attack style on a house of worship. Can't do it. It was a Sunday morning. There were parishioners, there were families, there were grandparents, there were people with canes, there were children upstairs in the nursery. They bombarded in, and as Don Lemon put it in his own words, they were on their way to a resistance at that church. And that's exactly what they did. They had a resistance operation. They barged in that church. There were originally about 400 people in that church. The video you're now showing, a lot of them ran out the back door. The lucky ones were able to get out. These people will say these parishioners thought they were going to get shot. One of the people with Don Lemon screamed, quote, "This ain't a house of worship. This is the house of the devil." There were children crying. There were parents blocked from getting upstairs to take their children out of Sunday school. A group of women ran out a side door. Multiple people fell on the ice. One woman severely damaged her arm, had to go to the hospital. Don Lemon blocked someone from going out that door. They were screaming at parishioners. It was horrible. No American, we don't live in a third world country. We live in the United States of America, and you will have the right to worship safely and freely in a house of worship, whether it's a church, a synagogue, a temple, a mosque, any house of worship in this country, you will be safe. And these people committed a crime under the FACE Act, and they will be held accountable. 9 of them have been charged, and you will not do this in our country. We're coming after you if you do this.
Yeah, see, that's why I didn't play a lot. I know it's Fox News. Thank y'all for rocking with me. But do you see the picture she tried to paint? Oh, they came in there. Kids were crying. People were uncomfortable. There was mass hysteria. Folks were trying to get out. They kept blocking them. Don Lemon, being the strong black man that he is, was keeping folks from getting out. It is amazing to me the picture they paint, and every video that's out there of the event show differently. I didn't see people panicking. I saw disturbed individuals. I saw people who were confused. I saw people who looked annoyed. But like we said on this podcast, guys, protests are not meant to be comfortable. They're not. They are meant to grab attention. They are meant to shock and awe. They are meant to get everybody to pay attention to, otherwise they would not pay attention. And it is amazing to me that on the Fox side, because you know what, Fox News is not a news station, it's an entertainment network. And I have no problem still letting people know about that, because that's the truth. It's an entertainment network. They're out there trying their hardest to sit there and say, this is an attack on religion because of the FACE Act. The FACE Act, which basically says that people can go, which is kind of funny. And I say funny because part of the FACE Act is ensuring that women can go get abortions and other Planned Parenthood services without being interfered. The other part of that is that folks that attend religious areas, churches, synagogues, mosques, may be able to worship without being interfered. And what Pam Bondi is trying to do right now, the lapdog bitch that she is probably one of the greatest reaches in legal indictments ever, because it's a protest. A protest is not obstruction. And since it's not obstruction, you can't use the FACE Act. Keep in mind, Pam Bondi tried to indict James Comey. Did not work. She tried to indict Letitia James. Letitia James laughed her ass off. It didn't work. So far, everybody that Pam Bondi has went to get an indictment on, every jury has thrown that out. So this is why I sit there and say this is nothing more than a smokescreen outside of the fact that Don Lemon, a man of color, was basically now put in front of the world once again. And I give respect to Don Lemon. This man is handling it with grace. At the same time, he says, I'm not going to let these people steal my joy, because like him, like Joy Reid, and many others who are now independent journalists who are not hamstringed by corporate interest, oh, the news from them is a wonderful thing. But Pam Bondi trying to paint this terror of attack on religion. Oh, these Christians are always being attacked all the time. No, it's pretty much the other way around. But they don't want to say that. They want to basically keep the state-run media going. So trust me when I sit there and say, I will not be surprised that everybody that was supposedly arrested by the DOJ for violation of the FACE Act, supposedly in a church, watch how quickly their cases all get dropped. Mark my words. Just saying. But also move right along, because again, some people are stupid for listening to RFK. Okay, everybody that's watching this, you all know that you should not drink raw milk, right? Milk needs to be pasteurized. So that means you're actually able to, it's safe to drink, because, you know, if you don't actually pasteurize milk, you are basically doing a Russian roulette of what you're bringing into your body. Well, unfortunately, there are idiots that listen to RFK, because New Mexico's Department of Health says that, hey, due to an infant's death, it could be tied to the fact that the newborn may have gotten listeria from the mother because the mother was consuming raw milk. Again, guys, consuming raw milk is not healthy. Pasteurized means that the milk is filtered through any type of harmful bacteria, contaminants, parasites, things of that nature. They are removed through pasteurization. If you drink raw milk, you are drinking milk in its, for lack of better words, raw form. That means you can and this is what they're saying. Let me pull this up. The chances of what you actually could be drinking. People who drink raw milk can be exposed to pathogens including bird flu, brucella, tuberculosis, salmonella, campylobacter, crip. I am not going to let's just say it's a dangerous thing. And E. coli. And again, for most states, they don't sell raw milk. For most states, I know some states do. But think about that. There is no health benefit to drinking raw milk, and especially as a pregnant woman. I would think that you would literally and figuratively be more concerned about your child's health than do something stupid like introduce pathogens to a newborn. But hey, RFK drinks raw milk. Some so-called health influencers drink raw milk, and surprisingly enough, they're still with us. Sometimes the Grim Reaper thinks he needs to cite that out. But anyway, last story, guys, before we get to our good news segment. And again, we should be heavily concerned because Trump committed a war crime, going into Venezuela, kidnapping the president's wife, and trying them out for war crimes in New York. I think it's crazy. He also said that he'll go to war with Denmark because he wants to go to war with Denmark buying Greenland, because he says if we don't do it, China or Russia will, which they don't because of NATO. That being said, the so-called dictator, shit-stained, diaper-wearing, Lord knows what else has got wrong with him. He's now turning his eyes on Cuba because he wants to cut its oil supplies. Why? Because, again, he is doing nothing more than trying to create an empire of his own. Now, keep in mind, this is the same administration that did a trade embargo on Cuba that basically prevented not only travel to Cuba, but commercial sales between Cuba and everywhere else. Now, again, I have sat there and said this many times about Cuba. The only thing that people like about Cuba is that it's a communist country. So is China. China's a communist country, and no one says shit. North Korea is a communist country, and no one says shit. But here's the thing about Cuba. The thing about Cuba is Cuba itself, its economy would boom if the trade embargo was lifted off of them, which means that U.S. can have flights, commerce, things of that nature. But the president sees Cuba the same way he saw Venezuela, the same way he sees Greenland. He wants to own it. Why? Well, the bullshit excuse that they usually go with is, well, if we want Cuba, if we don't get Cuba, Russia or China will. And it's like the Cold War all over again, that you have an old white man going to sit there and tell you off the bat that, hey, if we don't take this, somebody else will. When it's always the white people that are always taking it. But again, this comes from a man that can't take a joke and apparently shits in his diaper so much that when he's finally out of office, we're going to have to burn down everything in the Oval Office because, again, old man shitting is something you just don't forget. That being said, guys, we are going to move to our feel good segment because usually how the fact we got here, we usually cover a lot of things that are doom and gloom. Sometimes they give you fake humanity, but hey, it's Wednesday. Tomorrow's Thursday. We will leave you guys out some positive vibes. And hopefully this next story will do it as Usher and Big Sean have teamed up to do investments in their neighborhood to where the youth can actually thrive. And I keep on saying this, you want to knock down crime? You want to knock down poverty? Invest in those areas. Not that fucking hard.
The next generation entertainers, Usher and Big Sean, put $1 million toward an entertainment incubator at the brand new, beautiful Boys and Girls Club in Detroit. And oh, there they are. They got up to join us this morning, gentlemen.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. Wonderful to see you both. Oh, the state-of-the-art facility opens tomorrow. You both are Boys and Girls Club alum, as am I. How did you decide, Usher, to become involved in this particular project, including the Spark Lab and Studios?
Well, with all the innovation that I'd seen that Big Sean was a part of and Boys and Girls Club was a part of here in Greater Michigan, I felt like this was an opportunity for us to continue to expand. As of 2024, I opened the Spark Lab with Boys and Girls Club in Atlanta. And then I saw the opportunity for us to connect Detroit. And you just think about the history of Detroit, the fact that if there were no Motown, there would not be any LaFace Records or any of the entrepreneurs that came out of Atlanta. So here was an opportunity for us to get some economic mobility with young men and women here in Detroit. So that's why I'm a part of it. And not to mention, as you said, you know, as an alumni, this is an opportunity to pay it back to the clubs that invested in me.
Sure,
And you know, Usher put his money where his mouth is, man. Like he brought it. He had a show here. And he said he wanted to get involved with the kids and really be involved and just like step up. And he really did that. You know, he followed through, and somebody on his stature, his level of just who he is, he doesn't have to do that. He doesn't have to come to a city he's not from. And, you know, usually people from Detroit have to go to other cities to be a part of something big. He actually came to the city, and he's really changing the narrative of like building it from a city like Detroit out, you know? So I really appreciate you.
Yeah,
for that, bro.
absolutely without question. Most people might ask, why Detroit, right? Why not Detroit? Came here in 2008, did I Can't But You Can with all of the youth here.
Yeah.
So this is a return. This is actually a historical moment for us to be able to do this together.
Yeah.
Without Elif, without your foundation, without the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Michigan,
Yeah.
we wouldn't be able to do it. So, you know, I'm here, I'm back.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
For sure.
You both are real. You both are the real deal. And Big Sean, you're a Detroit native, and you say the Boys and Girls Club, and your mom helped you get to where you are now.
Yeah.
You have already
Yeah.
given so much back to the community. So what excited you about this particular project?
I mean, what excited me about this particular project is that I used to ride past this train station that was abandoned every single day where the Boys and Girls Club is. And it's not just a regular Boys and Girls Club. This is the leading edge of just innovation. It's a nucleus of the city, a hub of the city. And like you go from every part of this Boys and Girls Club, you got billion-dollar technology, multi-million-dollar businesses. You have StockX, you have our Spatial Lab Studios, you have all these things. And it's just all these collaborations, all of these incubators that everybody, these young adults, these kids, they can come through and really take over the world. You know, this is an opportunity that we didn't have growing up at all. So it's just exciting to be a part of it from that perspective, to see it actually come to fruition. I was here when they broke ground on rebuilding the train station. So you got to imagine, fast forward almost 10 years later, and it's crazy how fast 10 years go by. You know, you might not see on Usher, you know, he looked the same 10 years
I'm about
ago,
to say,
but you know, a
Big
lot
Sean.
of us 10
Yeah, I know. Must be all the roller skating or something that keeps them, you know, looking so good. Something
Yeah, but for a lot, you know, 10 years goes by fast. So let that be a lesson to everybody, especially, you know, the kids who got a lot of future ahead of them, that you invest 10 years, you could change not just your life, you could change so many lives at once.
Yeah, you really can. And I have to say, the way that you all have gone about it, and you described a bit of it. Can Could you tell us what it was like for you, Usher, to meet the kids who will be using this facility?
I felt like I was meeting myself at 8, even though our program starts to mentor youth at 14 and up. But I felt like I am talking to myself, and that opportunity that some person offered me by mentoring me as a kid led me here. So we are the example of what they could potentially become, but we gotta give them the tools that they need. So we give them a Spark Lab, we give them a Disruptivator Center, we give them access to, effects studios, we give them real tangible things to be able to execute some of their dreams. And hopefully some young entrepreneurs will come out of this incredible venture together.
Sure.
I know they will.
I know, without a doubt, because they're now seen, and they know that they're being seen. And Big Sean, of course, this is the start of Black History Month, and inside, a symbol of Detroit's revitalization, Michigan's Central Station you've been talking about. So how does this location help preserve culture?
I mean, truthfully, it's just taking place right in the heart of the city. So it is the culture, and they're buying into every aspect of the community. They really having the people from Detroit, from the east side, from the west side, from the hood, like really in here, you know what I'm saying? And I think that's the difference between just like a gentrification type of situation and really empowering the city and giving them the tools and saying, hey, all right, now it's your time to step up. You know what I mean? It's your time to do it. And, the fact that I get to just see it happen, I mean, it really feel like, it just feels unreal. These kids, they learning, this is probably the most exclusive club of Boys and Girls Club in America. They learning so many things at once. We got the Shaka Singora Lounge where they're learning. They actually taught a course on my book. I got a book, Go Higher, which is like five practices for purpose, success, and inner peace that I wrote last year. And it's just like they teaching courses on that. They're learning technology. They're learning all these things at once. So yeah, it means a lot for it to be where it's at too. It's not in the suburbs, not on the outskirts. We're right here in the heart of the city.
Right in the heart of the city, getting it done. Well, Big Sean, thank you so much for what you're doing there in Detroit, and for, as you said, for Usher. I've spent time with Usher in Atlanta, what he's doing there, and for him to share his talent in many ways there with you means a lot. Thank you both so very much.
He's the guy for sure. He's the guy.
Yes, he is.
Connect Detroit, Atlanta. This is it right here.
Sure. And we're going to keep going too. We're not stopping here. We're not stopping here. So.
I know. Well, you have
you know that.
Well, you have a home here at GMA. You keep sharing with us what you're doing. And I know it's inspiring a lot of people all around the country.
We're brothers. We're happy and we're single and we're colored. I'm sorry. I'm terrible. I just thought, again, let me not do that. Anyway, Big Sean and Usher, again, investing in the next generation by giving them the tools that they need to compete, to learn, to grow. I can't say that enough. When it comes to actually doing for the community, when it actually comes to investing, when you invest, and I say this all the time, and there are some cities where some mayors have proven this, when you do invest in the neighborhoods, the people, when you give opportunities, when you give certain opportunities, certain jobs, things of that nature, in that community, the community thrives. And guess what? Less crime and poverty. I cannot make that any freaking clearer. But shout out to Big Sean and Usher, because again, I just like the fact of just seeing people do well. And yes, it's Black History Month, although it's the shortest month of the year, but for the rest of us, it's Black 365. I will stress very heavily, guys, because yes, I know it's also 28 days of Black cosplay. Shout out to all cosplayers. Shout out to those who are trying to shine a light on areas of Black history that you may not know. I will say this, guys. I know there's a lot of things they usually happen during Black History Month. I will say during Black History Month, every day, try to search for a figure or a historical story that you may not know. And you will be surprised about the number of people that the history books don't cover because, they're trying to whitewash them. At the same time, the innovations of our people, that should never be forgotten, especially the fact of who invented the air conditioner, traffic light, washer and dryer, GPS, radio signals. I can keep going on. Like I said, there's a lot out there. You know what? If it wasn't for a certain individual, we would not have video games. Again, I encourage all those that are watching me or hearing my voice for Black History Month, definitely learn our story and pass it on if you can. But that being said, guys, that's going to do it for this podcast. Thank you all for liking, for watching, for letting people know it's live. I certainly appreciate it. Some shameless plugging before we do get out of here, guys. Shout out to APR TV. Why? Because How the Frack We Got Here can be seen on APR TV. APR is a TV is an app that can be seen on the Roku channel or Amazon Fire Stick, along with other shows that are available on APR TV. Definitely check it out. You will not be disappointed. Also, BlurStation.com. What is Blur Station? It's a streaming service for movies, television, shows, you name it, they have it. Also at Blur Station, we will actually be at BlurCon in DC. If you do want to actually stream on Blur Station, what I mean by that is if you do have business or you have a podcast or something that you want to advertise, we can definitely do so on our BlurCon stream the entire 3 days at BlurCon. Simply put, go to BlurStation.com, hit the live stream, and you'll see down there our tiers of advertising and the cost of those tiers and what they do come with. At the same time, if you do want to sign up for Blur Station, hit the Join Now button. Of course, select the affiliation, and it's $10.99 a month to stream Blur Station. And Blur Station can be streamed on all smart devices. Definitely check us out. Also, check us out, How the Frack We Got Here on YouTube. Literally type in How the Frack We Got Here podcast, and I'm the first thing that pops up. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification button so anytime that we do go live or a new show is uploaded, you'll be able to watch it there. And just like PBS, guys, we cannot do any of this without your support. So thank you all who did subscribe. Thank you all who did turn notifications on and let me know that you do enjoy the work I'm doing. I certainly appreciate that. It helps me keep going. But again, like, share, and subscribe. You definitely do not want to miss us. Also, check out Blurred's Eye View. Why don't you say why Blurred's Eye View? Because again, if you're a blurred and you like everything blurry and nerdy, you're definitely not going to miss that, as we are every Tuesday and Thursday. More importantly, follow us, all of us, from the Blurred's Eye View page. Follow Roomful of Blurs as she goes live every Sunday with Roomful of Blurs as she covers indie comics and comic books in itself. Of course, my other show, the Get Bit Podcast for video games, along with myself, Tafara TV and Show Guy Joe, every Friday at 8:30. Of course, Navy Montel, who is back to being on Sunday. He will actually be back up this Sunday to interview Cleo Thomas. Again, cool guy. You definitely don't want to miss that. Also, check out Geek by Heart, as she is definitely back, as she is currently doing Age of Imprisonment streaming. But again, definitely subscribe and hit the notification button so when she goes live, you'll definitely know that. Check out Shoko, as she is all about streaming herself. Lord the Culture, as he is a man of many talents. Of course, Safari TV, the man, the myth, the legend. If I have to, he needs no introduction, but that man is everywhere and anywhere. But definitely subscribe to all of them directly from the Blurred's Eye View page, guys. You will not be disappointed. As for myself, my personal social, black _ Spartan 615 is on the socials. You can follow me. I usually talk to everybody. Just don't make it weird. I do not want to get in the habit of blocking people. At the same time, guys, I cannot stress this up. I cannot stress this enough. Protect your mental. Protect your peace. Find that inner strength. Find your inner peace. Mental is everything, guys. Whatever the mind does, the body follows. If your mental is not strong, or if it needs a little help, there's plenty of services out there that you can take advantage of. But again, protect your mental, protect your peace. Also, Black men, go get checked out. I cannot stress that enough. Go get checked out. It is not quote unquote gay to go get checked out by a doctor, especially if you're up in age. Let's be honest, prostate and kidneys do carry a lot of importance as you get over 35. And we definitely do, and then we definitely want all you guys to stick around. And if you're somebody, well, that's just gay. Well, I'd rather make sure that my prostate and kidneys are fine than die of failure. So you can keep your gay ass comments to yourself. I want to stick around a little longer. That all being said, like I said, Black men, go get checked out. Go to a doctor. Yes, you can work out, but go to a doctor. Make sure that everything is fine, because you never know what happens. And again, protect your health, protect your peace, protect your strength. Check on your people. Also check on your people, because I know, with the world going on the way it is right now, the best things that we can do is what you can. And again, it's always ICE out. It's always F Trump. At the same time, guys, we're going to keep doing this for as long as you want us, or until, they decide to cut the internet. Either one, we're still going to be here. That being said, guys, and also We're 9 months away from the midterms. Democrats, let the women lead. If you let the women lead, you have a landslide. Just saying. The last thing I'll say about how the Frack got here, it's all about staying informed. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We are simply giving you all the information allow you to make up your own mind, but we do provide a lot of perspective that goes along with it. We do better as a society once we're informed. We're progressive. We move forward. We try to right the wrongs of our past, but make decisions now that we should have done back then. Like electing our first black woman to the Supreme Court, electing our first black woman to the Federal Reserve governor. Maybe one day, we'll elect the first black woman we call Madam President. All great things. When we don't learn from history, we are doomed to repeat it. That's what we keep asking ourselves. Why does everything go up at our paycheck? Why are we electing different politicians, but still the same old game in Congress? And most importantly, how the Frack we got here. Thank you all for watching. Please take care of yourselves and each other, and I promise we'll get through this. Live long and prosper, guys. Peace.